Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beers and Boost. I'm Barry.
I'm Zach.
And I don't know what time of week it is, so I'm Nathan. So
All right, and welcome into our second episode of the week, so that we can do World War Beer, so
Third
that we can do.
episode, second beer
Ah,
episode.
there you go. You got it right. You got it right. We are switching up the days on you because
There's a lot of
Pilsner
beer.
Urquell doesn't exist apparently at the moment, so we are swapping it up. We'll let you know ahead of time before the episode goes up. So hopefully you've caught up with us that we are doing St. Bernardus 12 and Boston Lager.
We did find Urkel today.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know if you actually picked it up, Nathan, but I
I
called
haven't. No.
I called 8 liquor stores today and found one place that had a 6-pack of it.
Where's that?
It was Cheers, right?
Yeah, just over this way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So somebody's gonna pick that up, right?
Yep. Yep. I will.
Okay. What about Sam Smith Lager?
No.
Hmm.
We called it combined like 10, 12 places.
I'm
No.
wondering if we called some of the same because a couple of them was like, "Hey, do you have Sam Smith organic lager?" No. It's like, okay.
I mean,
Okay.
I can check Whole Foods. Whole Foods has it sometimes.
Oh yeah.
I'll check Whole Foods. I'll go out and check that out. But anyway, St. Bernardus, Sam Adams Boston Lager. Which one do you guys want to start with?
Sam Adams?
Sam Adams.
Sam Adams it is. All
Easier on the
right.
palate.
We've had this on the show before, but just for to refresh your memory, I'll do the reading. You guys do the drinking. Boston Lager, 4 ingredients, painstakingly chosen. Every year we travel to Bavaria to hand select Hallercia, Mittelfur hops, and the high American plains for the finest two-row summer barley. We cultivate and shut it, our own lager yeast, and I personally sample every batch. All our hard work goes into brewing this distinctly flavorful and complex beer for you. Cheers.
I do taste the apps. Hops.
Yeah, I taste the
And
stroke in here.
according to their website, they use two row, a pale malt blend, and caramel 60 as their actual malts, and then they use Teton and those Mittelfrühe hops that I definitely can't pronounce. It is a deep amber color, and the Sherm is 11.
Sorry, I had to
All right.
move my mic. I think I clipped there. Sorry.
All right. So I love this beer. Um, it's a lager with flavor, which we don't always see in generic American landscape, I guess.
Definitely not. It's so, like, it's simple but flavorful, which usually doesn't really work, but, like, there's enough there of just, like, a couple things that work really well together. It's such an approachable and drinkable beer. Period.
A palate to it. I have to say mine is a little bit more bitter than the last time. The last one I got, the last like 6-pack or 12-pack I actually got of it, it was pretty malty, which was really nice because the Sam Adams sometimes it's kind of just bland. Like we've mentioned it last time we had it on, and even Matt Sam acknowledged it that it's better than it used to be. And like I said, this one's a little bit more bitter than I usually have it at, but I like it. I like it a lot. It's like not to shit on Yingling, but it's the better Yingling.
That's a good way to put
It
it.
is.
So
And
Um,
Yingli made the bittersweet or the bitter 16. So,
yeah, Yingling moved on. Spoiler alert. Go back and listen to an episode if you didn't already do that. See here, Sam Adams. Find it. It surprisingly got halfway okay scores. Zach gave it a 3, I gave it a 3, and Nathan gave it a 3.75.
Uh-huh.
It got an overall ranking on our board here of number 27 out of 32. So not too bad. Just to give you kind of a guideline to what we're looking for here, this technically qualifies as an amber lager. So the Brewers Association has the appearance of a golden amber to a reddish copper color, bright clarity, white off-white foam, stands, which may not last. Hasn't lasted in this glass. Aroma should be low to moderate malt aroma, which can be grainy with a low to moderate caramel sweet to toasty malty aroma. Hop aroma can range from low to none with a mildly floral or spicy character. Clean lager profile. Mouthfeel should be light. The flavor is low to moderate malt profile, which can vary from dry to grainy sweet. Low to moderate levels of caramel and toasty bready notes can be evident, and low to medium corny sweetness is optional, but not a fault. Hop bitterness is low to moderate. Hop flavor is low to moderate with a spicy herbal or floral characters. And the balance can be fairly malty to nearly even, with the bitterness becoming more noticeable but not objectionable.
I'd say it falls within all of that.
Interestingly enough, their commercial examples list Yingling Lager as a commercial example, but not Sam Adams.
See, and I would say this exemplifies that more than Yingling.
Yeah.
I would agree.
We found that.
It's especially the caramel notes.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you took a lager and then added some caramelly, just toasted barley to it, that's what I'm drinking. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And we found that Yingling was, or Yingling, however the hell you want to say it, was more of a Vienna lager, didn't we?
Which is kind of fun because it fell into the classification of a lighter Vienna lager, where technically Boston lager meets the amber lager because the Yingling is only 4.5%, where the cutoff for an amber lager is 4.6. So it's kind of a close technicality, but they're very, very similar. I think the only difference is the amber looks to have a little bit more of the toasty, caramelly flavors with it, and just a little bit more bitterness. Where the Vienna lager said there should be almost no bitterness at all.
Which this definitely hits that.
Mm-hmm. I think this is the much better version. If the Brewers Association is going to classify a Yingling as this is, the better version, which is kind of surprising to me that Yingling got a higher seed. Actually, no, it didn't. Got an exactly even seed, 29. So.
Which, I mean, this is, I guess, not really talking about this, but if we did Yingling at the same classification as this, Yingling would have been a much lower just brewer's score.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree there.
That's interesting to hear that.
But no, I like it. It's a good beer. It's malty, balanced, not too sweet, decent level of bitterness, enough to be palatable, but definitely not objectionable. And it goes down easy. This is a great example of what true American lagers can be.
Mm-hmm. Which is
this
rare.
This is an all-day beer.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about something that's not an all-day beer.
No.
The St. Bernardist Abt 12. It is 10%.
Well, it depends on what you want your day to be.
You want it to be over in one? I got you.
You want to remember your day?
Remember, I got the bottle that's like this tall, so definitely one and done for me if I drink that bottle.
See here. So, according to the old website here, the beer, the St. Bernardus ABT 12, is the flagship brew from the range of Abbey beers put out by this Watu brewery. This beer is something of a runaway success and accounts for more than half of the total brewery output. It is by no means a coincidence that the ABT 12 is often compared to the iconic Verstivleturin 12 from the nearby Sint Sixtus Trappist Abbey. The reason, until 1992, the Sixtus Trappist beer were brewed under the same license. Blah, 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 blah. It's a quad. I thought it was a Duvel.
It tastes like a quad.
No, it's a quad.
It's very shocking difference between the two beers. Well,
So, what do you guys initially think? And then I'll verify that with what the Brewers Association says.
powerful, a little boozy,
Uh-huh.
coats the mouth.
It is the pumpernickel to the sandwich bread of the other beer.
Yeah.
Oh, Barry, you all right?
Nope.
All
Nope.
right.
Not all right.
Just got
Not
Okay.
all right.
slapped in the face by a monk.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I think I just went to hell and back.
I
Okay.
can see time.
You had a glass of our Helsenbach?
Yeah.
I forgot about that already somehow. It's a very good beer, but it is a sipper. Compared to Boston Lager, where it's all day like, I'm gonna go mow the yard, have a beer, I'm gonna take one, have a shower beer, I'm gonna have one with lunch, gonna have one with dinner. This is like, all right, it's 8 o'clock, about to go to bed, but I kind of want like half a pint of beer. I'll pour myself half a glass, half a bottle. That's good.
Or if, 5:30 rolls around on a Monday and you were like, fuck Steve. I need a beer. And you're like, I only have this St. Bernardus Abt 12. I wonder what that's going to be like.
Fucking
5:30 rolls around.
Lewis
You're
from
asleep.
accounting.
Yeah, this is definitely today was stressful and I just want to go to bed.
Yeah,
Down this.
it'll work for that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we haven't really talked at all about the flavors of it, but the overall impression: a dark, complex, very strong Belgian ale with a delicious blend of malt richness, dark fruit flavors, and spicy elements. Complex, rich, smoothness, and dangerous.
Yeah,
Aromas should be complex with a rich, sweet, malty presence, significant esters and alcohol, and an optional light to moderate spiciness. Deep amber in color, deep coppery brown. Think dark roast, but not a stout. Characteristics: ingredients: Belgian yeast strain prone to production of higher alcohols. Esters, sometimes phenols, are commonly used. An impression of the complex grain bill, although many traditional versions are quite simple, with caramelized sugar syrup or unrefined sugars and yeast providing much of the complexity and the higher ABV. Commercial examples: this one.
Oh,
it's like we did this right almost.
yeah.
So yeah, what you guys think? You agree?
I do, to be honest. I feel like it fits the bill.
It's definitely got, there's that like spiciness to it. The fruit, it's there, but I can't pinpoint what fruit. There's something.
Dried, dark, sugary cherries.
Yeah.
That's what I get.
But I would go one step further and say that the fruit doesn't come to the forefront like a Scotch ale,
No.
like what we've had before. It's there, but it's not the forefront of the beer.
It's definitely the back end. Like what you get up front is definitely malty,
Booze.
a whole bunch of caramelized stuff, and you can taste the sugars that are added to it. But your Belgian yeast is still prevalent, which is saying something that this beer and this yeast can stand up together, and one's
Yeah.
not necessarily overpowering the other.
Because all of these are very powerful flavors. So, there is something
Yeah.
to say with that. They work. Somehow. It is dangerous though. You can tell there's booze there, but it's easy enough to drink at 10%.
Can I just say that as someone who loves Belgians, this is a really tough contest. Like really, it's bad.
He
It's
loves
not
his,
good.
he loves his Belgian beers, but he loves his Boston lager.
I do.
That's actually a really hard decision to make, and I'm gonna let them warm up just a little bit longer so I can come back to this, mainly the Belgian, because the bottle does say you need to be drinking it at 52 to 56 degrees.
I forgot the thermometer.
Well, I assume it's definitely not there yet because it's probably
Yeah,
in the
no.
45s. So I want to give it a true second round tasting, and all I really think is going to happen is the sugars are going to come out more, and I'm probably going to like it less. But I would argue that's the better brewed beer than Boston Lager. To be able to pull off a 10% beer that somehow hides 10%, you can tell it's got alcohol in it, but it's not like some of those stouts that we've had. They're like, well, here's a lighter,
Yeah.
you're going out the door, buddy. And there's a lot of balanced flavors that go along with the yeastiness and the sweet. It's a very well done 10% beer. That's why I argue it might be better brewed than the Sam Adams Boston Lager, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the better beer.
Okay. I might submit that that's the better brewed beer.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sam Adams Boston Lager might be the best beer relative to what they were going for, which is America is used. Keep in mind, this is all that we've had that is even creative in America is Yingling at this point when they make Boston Lager. And we've already talked about how this is better than that. And this is the late 80s. And
Yeah,
they're
so-
like, we're going to make something better than this.
Yeah, the only other at this point, at pretty much at the exact same time, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale and Sam Adams Boston Lager came out on two massive different sides of the country.
Right.
So craft beer was not a thing.
And-
There was no commingling of coasts.
And two massive different sides of palates.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Like you have pale ale and you have lager.
Mhm.
And I don't know if we have a ranking for this, but in terms of just achievement, just in terms of like what has happened in beer, and specifically in this case American beer, but beer in general, I'm gonna okay. We haven't done the warm taste on the St. Bernardus, but I just think Sam Adams wins. I'm sorry.
I actually agree with you. Like I'm not disagreeing with your argument. I think it's the exact right argument to make, because not only is this beer fantastic, this is a great beer, and surprisingly it gets overlooked all the time because of so much great beer that we have. But the beer that we had on just on Thursday was the other beer, the other counterpart to this. Like, the reason craft beer exists are because of these two beers, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale and Sam Adams Boston Lager. The reason breweries didn't die like 5 years ago when there was a massive hop shortage, or 10 years ago, I forget exactly when it was because Sam Adams was giving their hops away to microbreweries and macrobreweries, or nano and microbreweries. I mean, the things that Sam Adams has done, not in just beer alone, but as company for the craft beer movement, can't be overlooked. And I'm not saying these Abbey quads aren't doing the same kind of thing. I mean, there's a reason they are their own whole community that are based around this beer does everything for these communities. So it's a huge aspect. But the Boston Lager is just, it's so hard to put down. And I think that's why, for me, it gets my vote. Even though I do want to try the Abt 12. But
All right, Zach, you've been quiet.
I'm listening to the arguments, and I'm very torn because they're wildly different beers.
Wisconsin or Virginia in basketball playing Arkansas. Super slow, average 50 points a game. Arkansas, play fast as we can, 85 points a game. Two massively different styles, and which one wins out, kind of a thing. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
The matchup.
Well, where I was going with that is, what's the use case of the beer, essentially? How we kind of talked about the ABT is, Audit sent you an email today telling you you've got a meeting on a Friday at 3.
That seems very specific.
There's a great subreddit where it's oddly specific. And it's literally like, you ever have that feeling when that bitch Brenda just comes up to you and says blah, 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 blah? It's like, That was oddly specific.
Yeah.
I want to give them one more round when they warmed up a little bit. I'm pretty sure I have my pick. And at the moment, it's going to be the Boston Lager because that's the more approachable beer. It's the one that you could hand to anyone, and more than likely they are going to drink it. ABT 12 is, okay, you've been drinking beer for a few years. Here's something weird and fucking left field to try.
Now, I agree with that, but this is not a tournament to find out who makes the most drinkable, palatable beer. This is to find who makes the best beer in the world.
That's true.
Sent to Arkansas.
That's true.
So, I mean, you have to go on how much does it meet the qualifications? How much do you love it? And then also just of the two, which one is the better version of, does it meet the requirements and does it meet your palate better? Combine the two and then pit them against each other.
We talked about both. They fit their styles. They are right down the middle between the variances that you can have for flavor and aroma. So they both fit there.
So it really just comes down to, at this point, which one do you believe is the better beer?
That Boston
back and forth. That's a weird one.
I went back to the Boston Lager and it hit a bit harder than I expected. It was a little dry and bitter.
That Act 12 is really good.
It is really good.
Really good. It's really good.
Tough. Like, originally it was going to be Sam Adams, like, full on. But oddly enough, it got warmer and it didn't get too sweet.
Yeah.
I think I'm sticking with my Sam Adams only because that is so carbonated. And I feel like it would take me all night to drink this one beer. One, because of the 10%, but also because it is so heavy.
You've seen me.
The carbonation. So I'd be full for so long.
Yeah. I've been over here burping every 5 minutes.
So I think better beer, my palate, characteristics, all being equal. I'm going to go Sam Adams just in base of preference. I like it just a little bit more.
At this temperature, both of them have warmed up a little bit. The Sam Adams is easier to drink. It definitely is. But I actually think I'm going to pick the 12. I actually prefer to drink that because I can sip on it. I could take that big bottle that I have on a Friday night or...
Why are you in this room?
Hi.
She may have not known I was in here.
I lost my train of thought.
You were handing it to the Act 12.
Yes. I could take that big bottle on a Friday night or Saturday, drink it a little early, and that's all I need. So, one and done with the ABD 12. I think that's where my heart lies.
Nathan?
Yeah.
Tiebreaker.
I've had both. In fact, I've had a lot of both.
That ABT 12 is gone. Nathan gonna be gone. Second half of this episode is gonna be fun.
You've had dinner, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, I had a late lunch, but yeah. So.
Yeah, dinner was at 12:10. What time is it? Oh, 7:30.
I think both of them are equally well made. So on preference, I'm going ABT 12.
Ooh.
So.
Wow, you picked that over the Sam Adams.
Yep.
All right.
And just like 5-10 minutes ago, we were all unanimous Boston Lager.
Well, that's what it takes. You drink it. You give it a
Mhm.
a real true score. All right, then. We're marking it down.
Which, some of the topics that we've talked about during World War Beer, I'm wondering, it would be very convoluted probably, but should we change up but when we're done with this, our normal scoring? Should we have does it fit the style, 1 through 5? How well is it brewed, 1 through 5? Personal preference, 1 through 5. Because we've had so many beers where we said, this is brewed perfectly, it fits the style, I hate it, so 1.5. That Insane OG, that would have gotten nearly 2 5s and a 1 from me, which would have given it a very wildly different average.
Yeah.
That's something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll do that off camera.
Off camera. Let's move on to our second matchup.
There's so much beer.
So much more interesting. Like, I honestly think it's even more convoluted of a matchup than what we just went through. So,
It's going to be weird.
Let's see how that goes.
Oh. All right, be right back.
All right, and we are back with 2 more beers. We have got Bell's Two Hearted and Young's Double Chocolate Stout on the matchup for this one.
Basically, same beers. Just,
yeah,
they're so close.
it's going to be so hard to tell the difference.
Yeah.
I got to get a picture of that Young's Double Chocolate. That is like, that is just an absolutely stunning beer. Appearance, nitro pour. Already. Let's just go ahead and talk about the Young's Double Chocolate as we have it out. Young's Double Chocolate got an 11 overall seating, higher than the Bell's Two Hearted at 15. See here, Young's Double Chocolate Stout got an overall score from us. Double Chocolate, there we go. It was number 10 overall, with a 4.75 from Zach, a 5 from me, and a 4.5 from Nathan.
Very high scores. I think we talked about it on that episode. I don't think there's a proper classification for a double chocolate stout. There's a chocolate stout, and then you would just assume double the chocolate. And that's this. Like, it tastes not like milk chocolate, not a Hershey's bar. It tastes like cocoa. There is actual chocolate in this beer. And it's got a creamy mouthfeel. It's just really good. And I'm saying that as someone who made an oopsie and forgot to put it in the fridge and is drinking a room temp one. And I'm not mad that it's room temp. Barry's concerned.
Trying to see how, because they lay it out in like column and then another column, and you can't tell which one either just go straight down or does it then finally curve over and become a new one. Nothing's written in the exact right order it should be, but if this is technically a spiced beer, really interesting. I would assume this is a coffee stout of some kind, but we're gonna call it a specialty beer. I'm looking at the Brewers Association stuff. The way they have it laid out is really weird. But tags specialty beer, comma spice in the classification of spice, herb, or vegetable beer. Under commercial examples, Young's Double Chocolate Stout. So I don't know. I'm thinking we have to go off the rails on that one and just look at stout, and then classify it with.
It does have the underpinnings of a stout.
I believe it would technically be a stout. Actually, I would technically see here European stout.
Where is Young's from again?
They are from England.
So yes.
Because so originally what happened is the stout was based off of the porter. The stout became the stout version of a porter, where a porter was the 4% with the roast, and all they did was they made a pale ale into an IPA by turning everything up a little bit. And that's what they did on a porter to become a stout. So Like,
He doesn't
there
look at
are,
his wife with those eyes.
there's few things in this world that are this pretty. I mean, that is just. Okay, I'm gonna shut up again and just.
E46M3, Young's Double Chocolate Stout, Old Rasputin.
C7 Stingray is up there.
It is pretty. It's pretty.
Yeah.
Notice none of us talked about our wives.
Hmm.
Let's hope they don't watch the episode.
Let's see here. Young's Double Chocolate gets a 90 from Beer Advocate. There's no write-up on it. It's called an English Sweet or Milk Stout, is what it could be classified as. So let's just Control F it up for a milk stout.
Creamy.
Sweet stout, technically, as well. Characteristic sweetness is most sweet stout come from lower bitterness levels, and not necessarily from a high level of unfermented sugars, which is why this is only 4.5%. It's an English style of stout. Yes. Mouthfeel should be medium full to full body and creamy, low to moderate carbonation, high residual sweetness from unfermented sugars, and full tasting mouthfeel. That's a contradiction to earlier. Appearance very dark brown or black in color, can be opaque, if not, should be clear. Creamy head. Aroma, mild roasted grains, sometimes with the coffee or chocolate notes. Very dark, sweet, full body, slightly roasty ale. Can suggest coffee or cream.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. With
Add in some chocolate.
double chocolate. And there it is in that glass.
Like, I have to say this. I almost don't want to move to Two Hearted because that's so good.
It is. But
I want to move to Two Hearted.
Okay. Oh, man. And I did have to point out, this is actually brewed with chocolate malt. It's not chocolate in the stout, so it is not a chocolate beer. It is extra chocolate malt, and it is not a double stout. It's a regular stout with double the chocolate.
when you guys were growing up, did you ever have the chocolate Malta-meal?
Okay, so I didn't, but my wife has introduced it to me.
So take out some of the sugar from that.
Yeah, no, it's disgusting.
Yes, but the flavor, that chocolate.
Yes, it's along the same lines. Again, disgusting.
I did have to point out, I was wrong. This actually does have actual cocoa in it. So,
Oh,
but I thought it was only chocolate malt. It actually has some cocoa in it, which is totally fine with me. I mean, I've made a chocolate stout before. It had cocoa in it.
Maybe that's a double. Chocolate malt and cocoa. Double chocolate.
Yes, double chocolate. But anyway, Bell's Two Hearted American IPA. We went over this last episode when we talked about the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. The American IPA is a cornucopia of examples. There is almost nothing that it can't be. All it has to have is some sweetness, 6% or higher, and then some bitter punch. And the bitterness can be ranging from earthy, herbal, spicy, lemony, citrusy, fruity, juicy, or all of the above.
in this case, Centennial hops.
Yep.
Let's see here. Two Hearted. Okay, so beerconnoisseur.com gives it a 9.6, an aroma of 24 out of 24, an appearance of 5 out of 6, a flavor of 38 out of 40, a mouthfeel of 9 out of 10, and an overall impression of 20 out of 20. So
Why?
I guess that overall score of 100?
Why are there so many ranges? Why are some up to 20 to 40 and okay.
Yeah. Don't know. Brewed with 100% Centennial hops from the Pacific Northwest and named after the two-hearted rivers of Michigan's Upper Peninsula, this IPA is bursting with hop aromas ranging from pine to grapefruit, from massive hop additions in both the kettle and the fermenter, perfectly balanced with a malt backbone and combined with the signature fruity aromas of Bell's house yeast. This beer is remarkably drinkable and well suited for adventures everywhere. 7%, 55 IBUs, serve it at 45 to 50 degrees.
I think we're missing the most important part of this beer, which is I brought this on my first appearance on this podcast.
And we were so proud.
Back to us. That's what got you a second episode. Let's see here. Bell's Two Hearted got a score of 3.75 from Zach, 4.25 from myself, and a 4 from Nathan to give it an overall seeding of 15. But in the tournament, it came in at 15.
It is not the perfect IPA, obviously, from our scores, which I don't know with the ranging classifications if you can ever have a perfect IPA. But anytime you want to introduce people to IPAs, or anytime I have, it's like, if you want to try an IPA, you want to try something, Two Hearted. Every time it's Two Hearted. Sometimes Torpedo if I think they can handle it, but
I would actually argue that Torpedo is more approachable than Bell's. Only because this has a definite notice in the sweetness that originally comes from the Centennial hops. You can kind of get that little bit of juicy aspect to it, and then it comes back with a big hint of bitter and a little bit of earthy undertones. Where the Sierra Nevada Torpedo is so just like
pine.
Everything's right there. It's one note and it's all great. Where the Two Hearted is not one note. It's
True.
a little up and down, a little up and down. But I do agree that both of them are absolutely. You want an American IPA. Here is you, arguably a perfect example of a baseline American IPA.
I think that's the best description. I think if you're going to say American IPA, this needs to be up there. It needs to be in the conversation. I don't know. Man.
All the other American IPAs we had on for World War Beer and in general of this podcast,
a lot.
The only other one that made it on was Voodoo Ranger. And then the only other pale ale that made it on was Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Yeah.
Which Voodoo Ranger
is technically a double IPA.
That's an Imperial.
So this is our only true American IPA on the list.
Yeah.
And you have to make the argument that the same exact argument that you do for any other like massive American craft beer, in that this is what America truly is for beer. It's not your Bushes, your Budweisers, and all that stuff. And yes, of course, every country out there offers up their version of shit. Like, period. They all do. But when you're talking about, like, here's an example, there's not much better of an American IPA, if any. I would argue maybe Sierra Nevada's Extra Torpedo is a better example, but that's in personal preference to myself. I still love Two Hearted all the time.
I think both this and Torpedo they check all the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be personal preference.
Yeah, that would be a hard matchup if we had them both on. Because I rotate both of those. It's Pale Ale, Torpedo, Voodoo Ranger, Two Hearted. When I'm wanting IPAs, those are the ones I almost always pick. Very rarely do I stray and get something new unless I'm just feeling ballsy that day.
This is a extremely tough matchup. So again, it's kind of like we know what we've done here, and that we've picked beers that are there's a reason they made the tournament. They're really good examples of what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Or in the case of every beer we've had so far, according to definition, they are perfect. So at this point, they're just coming down to the personal preference, how this beer feels for you, and then also just if you're handed two of them in front of you, which one you picking? And this is super difficult for me.
It's not difficult for me. I'm going Two Hearted.
I have my pick based on like flavor, how good they taste. That's tough, but on which one that I would pick up and drink when handed both of them at the same time, I know.
But is it based off which one's better? Or just like which one you got to pick the better beer, but also your personal opinion has to go into that. So
They're both equally, well, our scores don't say that, but as bog standard or baseline IPA versus bog standard baseline double chocolate stout, I think they're both brewed very well. They both fit their bill. They both have great flavors. So I think they're both amazing beers. So I am going on personal preference, but it's hard to take a double chocolate stout and an IPA and compare them, which one is the better beer. But if we're how am I trying to describe this? If we're looking at a double chocolate stout and where this one sits, it's at the top. American IPA, that's at the top. So technically both great beers, best beers. So going with personal preference on mine. Which I'm
gonna be the odd man out. I'm picking Young's Double Chocolate Stout.
I'm also picking Two Hearted. I hadn't said it yet because I was waiting, but yeah, I'm picking Two Hearted.
Yeah, my personal pick. I think the Young's Double Chocolate Stout is the better beer. I love Two Hearted. It's a great beer. There's a reason it's one of the best single hop beers. Period. I just love this. This Double Chocolate Stout
It's a great beer.
It again, like the Sam Adams, goes unlooked a lot.
It does.
I think if it was something that I wanted, I would agree with you. I just don't want it. I don't want a double chocolate stout. Like,
that's kind of where I'm at as well. Like, well, I do want that beer every now and then. I do want a Young's Double Chocolate Stout. It's maybe because I ate before we recorded and we're 4 beers in. I had one before. It feels so much heavier on my stomach than the Two Hearted does. So I want to keep drinking the Two Hearted. I've had my fill of the stout, which is weird because there's really nothing to a stout when you look at like caloric intake and carbs and stuff.
I actually argue the opposite way. I feel like the Two Hearted is eating on my stomach because I ate before this as well. And third beer in. Yeah, no, I think because the nitro aspect of it, the way that the carbonation hits you a little bit different. For me, it's softer on my stomach. But either way, I love this beer. I think if I had to pick, here's your examples of double stouts or double chocolate stouts or chocolate stouts. And there's a slew of 5 of them, and Young's Double Chocolate's there. I'm picking that one.
Well, yeah.
Here's a slew of 5 American IPAs. I'll pick a different one each time.
See, and I disagree. I think I would choose Two Hearted over any other American IPA.
It depends on what's on the board because I've come up against maybe not 5 American IPAs, but I've come up against like a Sweetwater IPA and I think it was Ranger and Two Hearted, and I was like, I'll have a Two Hearted. Anytime I see Two Hearted on a slew of IPAs and the rest of them, I'm kind of, I don't know that one.
You know what you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will say this. I think we champion Mother's Brewery on this podcast, and I haven't had Little Helper in 8 years, probably. So, yeah, I don't know if I would choose this over that.
Did you say 8 years?
I think so.
Have we not had it on the podcast with you?
Nope.
No, we had it in our IPA blind taste testing.
Oh, we did.
It came in third.
Yeah.
Bell's was not on that, but oddly enough, I have Little Helper and Bell's in my fridge right now.
Yeah. So
I'm not surprised
I just haven't had Little Helper at all.
Yeah.
So
But I think that comes down to the style, though, is that the American IPA is so massively just the scope is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many different ones you can have. Where if you're going in for a stout, you're going in for a chocolate stout, you know what you're getting, you know what you're gonna have, and that comes down to you know what you're gonna get from the Bell's Two Hearted. You know what it tastes like. You've had it all the time. It's a backboned, bitter IPA with good balance, a hint of sweetness, and nice citrus balance up front, ending with some earthy undertones. It is a straight across great fastball of a beer. And I think it's a great American IPA, but the reason I would choose a different one each time is because the flavor is going to be different in every other IPA.
Mm-hmm.
No one matches this, and there's a reason why this is so good because no one else does match it. But anyway,
We could discuss this all day.
it moved on. We're marking it down. Bell's Two Hearted has now moved on. And if I see people picking a whole bunch of pale ales, I'm going to call bias on one of these people in this chat right now.
yeah,
But anyway, we've got a couple movers honors right now. We're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movers honors at this point in the tournament.
All the time with new words. I love it.
I like it.
Yeah. So we'll try to figure out who's going up next, and we'll let you know. Thanks for joining.
See you guys.
Have a great week.